This episode has been brought to you by justinformed.com.
Saturday, Senator John McCain, known as the Maverick, passed away. He was 81 years old. He died from complications of a brain tumor, a very aggressive form of cancer. He announced this back in July 2017, and he said then that his prognosis was not good. He continued to serve on the Armed Services Committee. He continued to be a very vocal critic of Donald Trump. He also, during his tenure as politics over 4 decades, Senator John McCain was very powerful in the Senate. He also ran for president twice, once in 2000, once in 2008. Senator John McCain was well loved by many Americans, dubbed the Maverick, and a person who was a patriot due to his time serving in the military. He was in a fighter jet in Vietnam where he was shot down. For 5.5 years, he was held captive in a POW camp where he was interrogated and tortured. John McCain, well liked by many, and I give my condolences to his family, his loved ones, his grandchildren, his children. Death is painful, and the losing of a parent, very difficult to deal with, and to a wife and the grandchildren. I'm sure all of these people feel a deep, profound loss of losing John McCain, because they know him best, not just as a senator, not just as a senator, not as a politician, but as a father, grandfather, and husband. Now, there have been many people who have made comments about John McCain's death. They speak of John McCain in very glowing terms. Some call John McCain a hero. Many, such as the New York Post, refer to John McCain as a war hero, a man who defended American values, a patriot who fought for Americans to spread democracy around the globe and to topple regimes. It is this very narrative that I must question today. Not only that, but also the many, many of those in the public eye who chose to posthumously celebrate John McCain as a patriot for warlike activity. John McCain never met a war he didn't like or an intervention he did not support. He supported the intervention and the toppling of governments and the invasion of Iraq, Iran, Ukraine, Syria, Libya, backing the death, the regime change in Libya, the killing of Gaddafi, which is now in disarray, a totally failed state. What does it say about us that we celebrate those who took us into war unnecessarily? What does it say of us who don't have the backbones and the spines to stand up and tell the truth, that needless war is not to be applauded, and a patriot would do the opposite? A patriot would do all in their power to help us avoid war, if not for the people that we don't know in foreign countries, though that would be a good enough reason by itself. But even if you don't have the spine to stand for that, maybe you'd stand up for the veterans, the maimed, the wounded, the killed, the painful psychosis, the mental damage that soldiers face as they head off the countries in unneeded, unnecessary, unrelenting regime change endeavors by a military-industrial complex that feeds off war. John McCain didn't stand for that. If he did, that would make him a war hero. See how that works? But it's not only Republicans who support John McCain's warlike efforts. As of late, due to some votes John McCain made and some of the stances he took against Donald Trump, many Democrats support John McCain. They say John McCain is a great patriot, a great man, a man that we should admire. John Lewis sent this tweet. He said, Senator John McCain was a warrior for peace. He will be deeply missed by people all around the world. Representative John Lewis says that John McCain is a man of peace, a warrior of peace, when in fact he was the opposite. As I stated factually, John McCain supported every warlike effort, every possible, like the inverse of peace. That's what John McCain stood for. That's what he pushed. And here we have Representative John Lewis calling him a warrior of peace. John Lewis, civil rights leader, still here. A civil rights leader who has maintained popularity and influence in the black community and in all communities, and power in politics due to his front lines operations, front lines participation in the civil rights movement, now supports John McCain, a man who did not support MLK's birthday. And not just once, several times. He voted against making MLK Day a national holiday, in his state of Arizona, and only did he agree after it was proven or was decided that it was going to be done without him anyway. John McCain also voted against the Civil Rights Act of 1990. Now, make no mistake about it, I did some research, and I know this, but you best believe that Representative John Lewis knows this as well. Maybe Representative Lewis referred to John McCain as a warrior for peace because he wanted to make it up to him. Yeah, because they had words back in 2008 when Representative Lewis said this, and I quote, he said that John McCain, when he had nominated Sarah Palin and they were campaigning, he said that John McCain and Sarah Palin were sowing the seeds of hatred and division in a way that reminded him of former Governor George Wallace. George Wallace was a famously racist individual. You compare John McCain and George Wallace, that leaves nothing open to interpretation. Representative Lewis, were you lying then or are you lying now? Representative Maxine Waters had this to say about John McCain. She said, he was a true American patriot and a hero has passed. John McCain was an example of a public policy maker who fought for what he believed in and had the character and dignity to stand up for what was right, even if he had to oppose some of his colleagues to do so. Many people have played up the narrative that it was Senator John McCain in maverick fashion who opposed his own party in order to preserve health care for so many Americans, but in fact, it was two women, Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, senators from Alaska and Maine, who stood in the stiffest opposition to that legislation, who truly killed it, who voted no twice on it. But they get no acclaim, no support for it, because the media decided to make John McCain thumbs down moment, the big moment. Though he had given it a thumbs up, then the thumbs down. Now, I don't know where you come from, but two no's are stronger than a yes and a no. Many Democrats had their run at supporting John McCain posthumously, such as Abdul El-Sayed, who ran in Michigan governorship, who recently lost that bout. He said this, he said, we lost one of the last of a unique breed of statespeople, the maverick thinker. While Senator John McCain and I would have disagreed on much, we agreed on something central. This country matters and defending its ideals should be our shared aim. Thank you for your service, R.I.P. If I'm going to call out Abdul, I must call out Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who sent this tweet. John McCain's legacy represents an unparalleled example of human decency and American service. As an intern, I learned a lot about the power of humanity and government through his deep friendship with Senator Kennedy. He meant so much to so many. My prayers are with his family. I disagree fundamentally that we should prop up warmongers like John McCain, whether they are alive or no longer living. I think it says something about who you are. I mean, neither one of these Democrats are in office. Abdul lost his race, and Ocasio hasn't been elected to anything yet. So what are they doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing it? Are we already beginning to play footsie with the establishment? Here's the deal, Ocasio. The establishment doesn't want you. And obviously, through this tweet, it seems like you want them. I mean, if you're willing to give in now, not even in office, not even under the specter of being questioned about John McCain and how you felt about his passing, I mean, I could get it if they put you in under the lights and they put you in the crosshairs and they say, Ocasio, what do you think about McCain's passing? Do you have something you'd like to say? And then you have to, say something positive because you want to respect the man's passing and his family. I get that. But this is an unforced error. This is unprompted. You're not even an elected official. In fact, this makes it seem as if you're itching to be someone who would be complicit or someone who would capitulate to power. For what? To show you're one of the team? I've been giving this much thought before I did this video. Though many others might not call you out for this, I must. You have a responsibility, not to those who do not want to work with you or don't agree with your ideology, but to those who put you in this primary win to begin with, and who will, what it seems like for all intents and purposes, will get you elected in New York. Those are the people you need to be making sure that you support and that you speak for. And the only people that would speak for John McCain or would ask you to speak positively about John McCain in such glowing terms about human decency, well, they would be people who were ignorant to John McCain's warlike tendencies. This is disappointing. Very disappointing. I'm sure there are people who are going to watch this video and they're going to say, how dare you, Tim Black, stand up here and say negative things about John McCain? Have you no pity, no sorrow, no humanity? The man has died. And to that I say, I don't support people who push for war. I don't support people who don't support civil rights. That's where I draw the line. It should be a line we should all be willing to draw. Sometimes we need lines. Sometimes we need to stand up for something. What I think about John McCain personally doesn't matter. John McCain didn't know me, I didn't know him. But what he stood for, what he pushed for in his time as a politician, that's important. I'm not a politician. I'm a commentator and an analyst. Sometimes I'm an entertainer. But what I will not be is a trumpeter for war and a celebrator of those who trumpeted for war, regardless for what their reasons. None of our interventions, none of our military interventions that John McCain pushed for were to preserve American lives. Throwing Donald Trump a bone or throwing Donald Trump under the bus, who in fact, 83% of the time he voted with Donald Trump. I'm really trying to see the Maverick part come into play here. There's a lot of agreement. But even that is not enough for me to somehow have amnesia when it comes to what John McCain was really about. Was he a good dad? Was he a good granddad? Was he a good husband? Was he a good friend? Probably. Was he a good American? Is he the type of American politician that we will need to see more of in America? Hell no. He's the opposite. For TBTV, I'm Tim Black. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell so you'll get updates when new content is released. Thanks for watching.